The Kenyan stock market is the best performer on the African continent in the last decade. Meantime, Ghana joins other members of the West African Economic and Monetary Union to adopt ECHO in 2020. While Egypt and Sudan said they will start a joint electricity grid operations from next year. I am Bosin Namafaye, and this is Business Incorporated this Monday, the 30th of December. Welcome to the show. Let's get started. The Kenyan stock market has been described as the poster boy or the best performer on the African continent in the last 10 years. South Africa comes right after in the second position, producing dollar-based gains since 2010 as currency depreciation ravaged returns for investors in Africa's most advanced economy. Nairobi's benchmark index climbed 74% since the start of the decade, with Johannesburg's stock market up short of 9%. The Zambian and the Nigerian markets have retreated nearly 50% since 2009. Aside from the weak showing from equity benchmarks, the period was characterized by a dwindling number of listed companies on the region's major exchanges from Lagos to Johannesburg, according to a Bloomberg report. Nigeria has the fewest number of listed companies since 2004, while in South Africa, the tally hasn't been this slow in 16 years. So let's check out the numbers coming from the markets intraday this Monday. Nigerian stock market index was down almost 0.5% midday today, despite early green showing. South African GSE was positive with 0.06%. In Egypt, the index was up close 1% at the midday Nigerian time. And the Kenyan market finished Friday at 1.30%. So, most Gulf stock markets were sluggish in thin trading early Monday, with financials hurting Saudi Arabia and the telecommunications Etisalat falling in Abu Dhabi. The Abu Dhabi's index was 0.38% higher intraday. The Dubai Financial Markets Index shed 0.24%. In Qatar, the main index rebounded 0.3%, while Saudi Arabia's Tadawul benchmark was down 0.05%. The European markets traded lower early Monday, despite hitting record highs last week amid quieter trading during the Christmas and Boxing Day holiday. So let's talk to my colleague at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, Ulrich Bartz, who is standing there for DWTV on behalf of Channels Television. Ulrich, it's good to see you on the program. I hope you had a very nice weekend. Let's get this conversation started around Lufthansa subsidiary Germanwings striking for 3 days. How much of this do we know? And what does it really mean for Lufthansa and the passengers who were affected during this holiday period?
We don't know much about how it's going to continue. What we do know is that at the moment there are 180 flights affected with the corresponding numbers of thousands of passengers aggravated by this. And the strike is to be set to continue until New Year's Day at midnight. But already the union is threatening Lufthansa and basically the passengers at the Lufthansa group with further strikes if there are no timely suggestions on how to settle this strike. It seems a little unlikely that there will be progress soon, because already there are two heavyweight arbitrators involved here. One, a former minister-president of a state here in Germany. He's a social democrat, acting for the employee side, and for the company side, a former head of the labor agency here in Germany, also a real heavyweight, and they haven't been able to bring the two parties together. Instead, acrimonious battle back and forth with accusations and not seemingly to be any progress made there. Lufthansa badly needs to avoid further strikes, and really, it also needs to pare down its costs in some ways, although it's difficult to imagine if it does this against the will of the employees. Will the level of service, the level of satisfaction of the employees be able to continue to serve the reputation of the airline? Lots of things at stake here. Lufthansa has other problems it's looking at as well. All this has contributed to making Lufthansa one of the losers of 2019. The share losing about 15% this year, while the DAX climbed about 25%, Bosen.
Aricha, I'm looking at the German DAX just across your shoulder there around the base. I'm looking at the DAX right now, 0.53%, 13,265 as we speak. So today is the last trading day for a number of European exchanges. So what's it like at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and a bit of the European, Pan-African or Pan-European trading year so far?
That's right. It's a sluggish close to the year. This is the last day of trading here in Frankfurt and for most other European markets. And the saying is, the books are closed, we've made our profit. And, if the people were on the right side this year, they could make a tremendous profit. I just talked about 25% more here in Frankfurt for the DAX this year. The FTSE 100 marched along quite well over in London, and other places in Europe there were gains as well. It was a spectacular year, one which had super low interest rates, continue to drive interest in equities as an alternative for investment, alternative to bonds or just leaving your money in an account somewhere in a bank. On the other hand, ultra high nervousness with the looming Brexit and with the trade deal, US-China. You had Saudi Aramco come in as the most valuable company in the world, selling just 1.5% of its stock and yielding enough money to make it the biggest IPO ever in world history. A failed banking merger here in Germany between the two biggest banks, a successful merger in the auto industry, PSA and Fiat Chrysler coming together. It really was a year to remember.
How much of these headlines, stories, and trading activities and themes for the markets and for traders do you think will spill into the new year 2020, at least perhaps in the early part of the new year? Rich, you have any idea?
I have a good idea. I don't think I've ever been as certain of this as I have been this year, looking into a new year in the markets. Donald Trump and the Brexit will continue to dominate at least the discussion in the early parts of the year. And coming a close second behind that will be the discussion on interest rates, on monetary policy. Is it supportive? Is it supportive enough? Is it perhaps too supportive? It's been also very controversial in 2019 and will continue to be so. And at the head of the ECB, we have a new person, Christine Lagarde, the first woman to serve in that capacity. And there will be further important decisions made by women here in the EU. Ursula von der Leyen, the German former defense minister, now president of the European Commission, and Angela Merkel, our chancellor here in Germany. She will be serving as the president of the European Council in the second half of the year. The second half of the year where they will be dealing with Brexit and probably also with trade with Donald Trump and with the Chinese. Most people expect trade to come to some sort of solution or not approaching the U.S. presidential election in November.
Very, very interesting. Let's wrap up the year 2019 on this note with you at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Thank you so much, Orich Bat for DWTV, for Channels Television. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the year.